Hello and welcome to Brutally Honest Talk Radio. This is the most fun that you will have this week on a political podcast. This is Elmo the Conservative, and I have a guest on the show by name of Rodger Friedman, and he's going to talk with us. First, I just want to welcome everybody, all the new subscribers. People can follow us, listen to us on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. And people on YouTube, not only subscribe, but please click the notification bell. And welcome to the family. So, hello, Rodger. How are you doing today?
Elmo, I'm great. And you could call me the equal opportunity critic, or you could call me Rodger, whatever suits you.
Okay. All right. That's good. That's a good handle. It's something good to be known for.
Yes.
Right. And so you have a thick and wide background and things that you've done. And people, just from his name, you can find out more about him. On this episode, one thing we're going to focus on the most is one of his books called Erasing America. So this is your latest book, or last book that you've written?
This is my seventh book. All the other books are on money, financial planning, and retirement planning. This was the book that I had to write, though.
Yes. So let's go ahead. I mean, let's assume that people haven't read the book or know much of what it's about. If you could just give a summary and then, go into a couple of your points.
Well, I spent about 6 weeks trying to figure out the title of the book and the subtitle. Erasing America, Broken Politics, Broken Country. And in my view, everything that I read and see and hear tells me that politics are broken and that our country is broken. And Elmo, I'll put it to you. Do you have kids?
Yes.
Okay. Is this the kind of nation you want to leave to your kids and your grandkids?
No.
There's a lot wrong. When I moved from Maryland to Florida almost 4 years ago, I started listening to the news or reading the news more and more. Mind you, I was a political science major 500 years ago when I went to State University. Probably the worst 4 years I've ever spent. It's a very bad decision, but I've moved on.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hear what's going on and what's going on in the blue states, what's going on in the federal government. And I would see and hear all this. And I got to the point where, as Ron White would say, no, I have the right to remain silent. I didn't have the ability. So I started writing a one-pager every Sunday, just emailing it to my friends and family and colleagues. And basically it was a rant. Do you know what the New York City Council did? Do you know what Gavin Newsom did? Do you know what Pelosi said? Maxine Waters, so on and so forth. And it got to the point where I was emailing 20 or 30 friends and family. And I'd get great comments and they'd say, yeah, give us more. And Elmo, the thing was that after a while, one page could not contain my rage.
Right.
It became around 1,500 words every Sunday. And I renamed the Sunday memo the Equal Opportunity Times. We're in a better neighborhood now. Thank you very much. And I still send those out. And when I wrote this book, I didn't have any intention on writing a book. And my sister, after receiving 47 of these memos, 47 weeks in a row, she said, I think you got a book here. And I said, something, you're right. I didn't even think about it that way because it just wasn't on my radar. But I said, you're absolutely right. So if you look at the book, there are no chapters. There are memos. And those memos are the first 47 weekly memos that I sent out. Right now, I'm working on a draft of memo number 85. So I haven't stopped. Okay.
Yeah.
But I just point out things that people are unaware of. And Are you familiar with Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Okay. He has a wonderful organization. He visits colleges and universities and talks to liberals and conservatives alike and
Yeah.
really tries to educate them. And, I support his organization. I think it's called Turning Point USA. And he does a lot of good. And, oftentimes when I write, I try to include great things like what he says or what Jordan Peterson says or Ben
Yeah.
Shapiro, for example, and things like Pelosi and Schumer and Waters and Hakeem Jeffries and the cast of characters that make me embarrassed that anyone voted them into our national legislature.
Yeah. Let me interject something. And I've been following politics and listening to the left and the right for a long time. And this is what I figured out is just like you hear about the left brain and the right brain, and some
Yes.
people are more creative and some are more logical. It seems to be almost just the mind that some people are born with, that some have a liberal mindset where their thinking is becomes bright and colorful, and to the forefront of their mind this rosy picture how everything can be nice and be better and feeling good, lots of joy and emotion and things like that, whereas conservative people tend to be more logical and think about, what are you going to do? Yeah, you look good, you dress nice, you got a great sense of humor, you're slick, I love your sunglasses, you may even know how to sing, but okay, all right. And I was just thinking this today. Election day is like the wedding in a marriage. It's one day. After that,
Yes.
it's about what are you going to do when you got to live through and walk through this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think many Americans, especially liberals, have become intellectually lazy. Okay. It's amazing how the kids on college campuses who want everything socialist, they think
Mm.
the electoral college should be abolished. And you hear Elizabeth Warren shouting at the top of her lungs. To me, she's an asshat senator from the great state of Massachusetts.
Mm.
But I look at it this way: Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Ben Franklin, and a host of others made sure that the electoral college was put in there so it wouldn't be tyranny of the majority. And I don't
Right.
believe that Elizabeth Warren knows better than our founding fathers. And I'm sorry that the founding fathers were not more diverse than they were. We know who they were. And by the way, Elmo, I'm going to make a recommendation to your audience. I just finished reading a book called The 56, and it
Okay.
is about the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. It is a phenomenal book, 5 or 6 pages on each of the signers. And these people knew that when they signed that document, they were literally signing their death warrant
Right.
because their families were hounded, their houses were burned to the ground, their property taken, their cattle slaughtered, their farms decimated. Okay. And these were the 56. Makes great reading. But my sense is that when it comes to liberals and conservatives, I think Ronald Reagan summed it up best because he was a liberal. He became conservative when he had something to conserve. Okay.
Yeah.
But these college kids on the campuses are being taught mostly by liberal professors that
True.
make up over 80% of the faculty. Matter of fact, I think it's higher than 80, but I'm safe saying 80. And the fact is that they view socialism as the right path forward, that capitalism is wrong. But what they don't understand is it was Vladimir Lenin that said that socialism is the path to communism. And if you
Yes.
told them that, they would look at you with that blank stare in their eyes and go,
Yeah. Well,
and these are
another problem today is just the definitions of words are changing, or sometimes things are not being called what they are, or the name or the title is being left off.
you don't like newcomers?
Newcomers? I don't know.
Excuse
I
me,
know this
they're
sounds
illegal
suspicious.
aliens. They're not newcomers.
Yeah. I had a
And they
feeling. I
don't
had a
have
feeling that's what it was.
complex immigration situations. Yes.
Yeah, right. Undocumented citizens. But you
Yes, yes,
can't be,
yes.
isn't that an oxymoron?
That's an oxymoron, yes.
You can't be a citizen at all if you're undocumented. You're a visitor,
Jumbo shrimp.
an
Yes.
illegal visitor. Yeah. So yeah, this is a problem. Most people are in agreement on both sides about communism and socialism being bad if they know their history when they look at history. But if you call it something else, and I think that even many college students, most people in the country today, if you walk up to them on the street, if I were to have a camera and a microphone and said, can you define communism or socialism or Marxism? Most people would not.
No, and they cannot point to a successful socialist society because there is none.
Yes.
And that's what they're in favor of. They're studying courses that not only do not give them skills, but give them little understanding of what it is to be a productive citizen, a tax paying, law abiding citizen of the United States.
Right. And then you hear some people that they know history and they know about what has happened with Marxism and communism, and they would say, well, that's because the right people weren't in power. If we get the right people, things will be different. But that's almost like saying you want to change human nature.
Yes,
Game of
because
Thrones taught us
everyone,
that.
yeah, everyone always has that profit motive. What's in it for me? And
Right.
why would anyone in any society try their best if it wasn't going to give them more of whatever it is they wanted? Now, fear and punishment will make people do things. You know, North Korea. Okay.
Mm.
Um, However, it will not put fatter chickens on your table or a Tesla in your garage.
Right. And then you know something else I notice is in these socialist and communist countries where the people are struggling and no one is what you would call prosperous, it
No.
seems. The people that are coming out on top or getting the richest are the government.
Well, I saw something on YouTube, I think it was just a couple days ago. To have a car in North Korea, you must be a party elite or a top person in the army. No one
Huh.
else has cars. They walk and they have bicycles. If you
Yeah.
look at the streets, there's 3 cars on the highway.
I mean, look what they did to people's farms and how they're not allowed to grow their own food and to keep people on such a low level where they're fighting each other and struggling to get the basic things on that bottom level of that pyramid so that they can't organize to come against the people that are in power.
And by the way, if you try to leave, we'll kill you.
Right. Look at that. The country that doesn't want you to leave. They don't want you to leave, but at the same time, they're telling you the whole world is trying to get in here. There's a long waiting list.
They have no resources that anybody wants. Yeah. And if the glorious leader loves everyone so much, why is half the country starving? The only ones that are fat are the political elite.
Literally. But one thing that I noticed about history is that you cannot oppress a people unless you lie to them. You have to
Propaganda.
because
Yes.
the truth lines up with what conservatives believe
The truth
about
will set
how
you free.
all men are created equal. You can't tell somebody that you're trying to oppress. You
Yeah.
have to
Yeah. Everyone's equal except for everyone at the top echelon of government. We are more equal. Yes.
right, and let's ban books. Isn't that one of the first things that Hitler's regime did when they went into
Yeah.
power? Is had these
And they
bonfires
took
of
everyone's
books?
weapons away so that they
Oh yeah,
couldn't arm and fight. Yes.
right.
Which is what the Biden administration has been trying to do. Yeah. And then, Mr. Biden gets up and says, well, you have your AR-15. We have F-16s. I mean, when I heard that, Elmo, I'm thinking to myself, is he threatening the American people with fighter jets?
Yeah,
piloted by American pilots.
right.
I was incredulous listening to this.
Yeah, the same person that said if somebody's trying to break into your house, you can stand on the back porch and just shoot your shotgun into the air, scare them off.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, somebody that doesn't know anything about gun safety.
I'd rather shoot him center mass
Yeah, right,
because that
right.
is my best chance of hitting something. I don't have a good chance of hitting his finger. Okay. I
Yeah,
will miss. But
right.
center mass, I'll get him. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah.
you should not point a gun at anyone or anything unless you are intending to destroy it.
Are threatened. Yes. Yes. I feel very, very strongly about gun safety. I live next door to a retired policeman. He's taken me to the gun range and I enjoy the heck out of it because I grew
Yeah.
up in Manhattan. Okay. My dad's store was at Times Square. I went to high school in the old Jewish ghetto. Okay. We didn't have a whole lot. The only people that had guns were the police and the criminals. That's it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's roll into there's a short list of things that you have for just reasons to vote conservative, and I like
Yeah.
that you say that instead of saying Republican, because Republicans not all the same, and a party can change, but the definition of conservative is not going to change, and that's what people need to look for.
Yeah, I would not throw a centrist Democrat out of my house.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good person.
Yeah, exactly. It's, kind of rare nowadays. But, first and foremost, if you want to look at the top 10 reasons to vote conservative, number one is to get control of the border. Okay. We could spend 5 hours, Elmo, talking about the border. Trump tried to build the border, he gave it the best efforts. And what happened? Put obstacles in his path at every point. They defunded and they would not allow that wall to be built. So a portion is built, but a portion is just sitting there rotting in the desert sun, as you've probably read about. Okay.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Kamala's, hey, a wall might not be a bad idea. Well,
Yeah.
where have you been for 3.5 years? But more than just the border itself is the whole immigration system is broken because on the first day, Biden repealed the Remain in Mexico. Okay. So now we've had, and I think the most accurate numbers are between 14 and 16 million people have come into this country illegally. No one knows for sure. I'm sure there's a couple million what the Customs and Border Protection call gotaways. Okay.
Yeah.
It's, the guys that you see 1 mile out where there's no fence and there's about a
Huh.
hundred of them, or at
Right.
least you think there's 100 of them. That's those people. Okay.
Right.
So the whole immigration thing. And the fact is that so much of our taxpayer money is being diverted from being used for the citizens of the country to being used to care for illegals. We all read
Yeah.
the headlines: New York City, $300, $400 hotel rooms, the illegals trashing the hotels. They're getting debit cards, they're getting phones, they're getting free college education, they're getting free health care. And that idiot AOC put in a bill in 2019, and Kamala and disgraced Senator Bob Menendez put something through in the Senate that they co sponsored so that the illegals would have all of these benefits. Okay. And
Mm.
it's coming from your federal tax dollars, your state tax dollars. And I remember reading about a month ago, it was either Oregon or Colorado, where they were shortening the days and the hours of the community centers and the Department of Motor Vehicle bureaus because they were taking some of the money out of their budgets and pushing it over to care for illegals.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was directly affecting the communities of the people because that's their tax dollars. It's not going to support them. So that's number one. If that was not big enough for you, I don't know what is. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a big issue that's
Yeah,
important. I mean,
it's
I
gigantic.
wish we had time to go over all of them. Let's say if that's not the biggest, what's number two?
Next
What
is
would you
foreign
put
policy.
right with that? I'm sorry.
So, I don't know how you feel about foreign policy, Elmo, but ever since the Afghanistan debacle and the death of, I think it was 12 or 13 members of the military for no damn good reason,
Yeah,
and leaving hundreds of billions of dollars of hardware there that the government lied about and said that can't be used. Okay.
yeah,
Well, the Taliban is using 5 million bullets very, very
yeah,
well. Okay. And they're using machine guns and grenades and rocket launchers and everything else. They figured out how to use them. And to leave hundreds of billions of dollars of military hardware there is unthinkable. Now, I remember Trump met with and actually went to North Korea.
mm,
He met with President Xi of China and he took us off of the Iran deal. That idiot Biden put us right back on the Iran deal. So, where we were robbing Iran of all of its money, Iran is now flush to buy missiles for Hamas and Hezbollah and everyone else that they support because Biden turned their money spigot back on. So everything that Biden has touched in the foreign policy realm has been tragic. Trump had it right. I don't necessarily love Trump, but he is the right person at the right job to get the job done. And
right,
my big thing is you don't have to like somebody to vote for them. They
right.
have to be the best person for the job.
Right, and let me interject something about that. I want to tell people. I'd look at the president as a public servant. They work
Yes,
for us. They were doing their interview with their campaign, and we look at their resume and we hire them, and they let us know what they're going to do. But they are
right.
a public servant, and just like you would have an electrician or a plumber or a mechanic to
The
come and work for
credentials.
you, you don't look into their personal life or whether or not they curse or drink or any of that. You want to know if they're going to do a good job.
Yeah, I don't care who your electrician screws. I want to know that they are certified and that they can fix the damn wires and put the lights on.
Yes.
That's what I'm interested
Right. I
in.
mean, let's do that first. If people want to be the moral police, let's first get everything working so that we have a stable foundation. And it is to everyone's benefit to think America first because this is where you live, this is where your family lives, and this is where all your friends live. So we
Right.
we do need to put ourselves first. This is
Yeah.
where we are. You can't save the world. There has to be some priority.
Yeah. Everyone's not going to move to Switzerland.
Yeah, or yeah, Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Norway, Sweden, 70% taxation,
yeah. I was
free
thinking of another
college, free
neutral
healthcare.
country. I don't know if Netherlands are, but
I don't know.
yeah,
But, in keeping with this vein, we have to rebuild the military. And we have to get the military leaders out that are teaching DEI and CRT. Right
yeah.
now, there are trans, I'm not sure their proper name, in the LBQTG,
The alphabet
they're kind of
mafia.
the alphabet mafia. But there are drag shows put on by trans sailors to try to get people to sign up to be in the Navy. The admiral that okayed this, I think, should be attached to an anchor with duct tape and dropped in the Atlantic. Okay? This whole echelon of military officers needs to be fired, and the
Yeah.
military needs to be rebuilt with the right people and the right hardware and the right programs.
Yes, we have to have a strong military. People look at the war with Russia and Ukraine now. Russia is a superpower, and they're uh, they're thinking ahead. They're buying weapons from China. They don't know how long this war is going to last. It's
They're
already
getting
been.
weapons from North Korea too.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
500,000 people dead already. I'm sure they have a lot, but they just don't know how long it's going to go. Vietnam, 10 years, a country much, much smaller than Ukraine, I think. So it's just important to have that. And I want us to play more defense and not do invading and do things the way we were 20 or 25 years ago after
Yeah, we
just
do
seeing
not
the
have to be
aftermath
the
of that.
world's policeman, okay?
Yeah,
But
right,
I
right.
want a very,
Can't.
very strong Navy. And, a little bit of trivia. Back in, so my dad was in the Army Air Force, okay? Served in the Rhine Valley, okay? And most people say, wait a second, the Army Air Force? Well, it turns out that in 1947, through an act of Congress, a separate Air Force was created because the generals in the Army and the generals in the Air Force couldn't get along on how they thought a war should be prosecuted. So the Congress created a separate branch called the Air Force.
Okay. Okay. I see. Yeah. Yeah. And I love it. Just that your father served. And I have a respect for people that have served in the military, not to mention seen combat.
Yeah.
So,
And although I didn't serve, I joined the Sons of the American Legion, or SAL, as they call themselves. And I'm there every month. I support them financially. I support them with my time and my effort. I give them, free books that I've written on finance and retirement, and I do whatever I can to support them. Okay, because our veterans, especially, must be respected. We must do everything that we can for them. And I remember, Elmo, when I first joined, I said, "What is it you do more than anything else?" And the guy looked at me, the commandant of that post, and he said, "We," then he paused, "so we can give it all away." I said, "I'm in. I'm in." Because at the last meeting, about 8 or 9 days ago, we gave the Special Olympics a check for 12,300. Okay. And that's just one of the charities that we support. That's, for the kids. Okay. Um, but people have to get off their couches. That's why I wrote the book. They got to get off their couches and get involved. Whether it's veterans organizations, whether it's joining your local Republican club, for example, supporting your Congress people and getting involved. Okay. You can't just sit on the sidelines. Life is not a spectator sport. Sure. Yeah. So, Elmo, as I told you, I'm called the Equal Opportunity Critic. I didn't come up with that name, but it seems to have stuck. So, I have a website called eocritic.com. And on there, you could sign up for my free newsletter. I send it out every 2 weeks, and I have a conservative bent to what I write about. And from what people have told me, they really enjoy it. You could unsubscribe at any time, no harm, no foul. I have videos on there, I have blogs, and of course, my book is available on Amazon, which is where literally everyone buys their books nowadays. And it's called Erasing America, Broken Politics, Broken Country. So they could have at it, and they could always contact me through eocritic.com.